What is up, everyone? Oh, wait, sorry. Let me just click on that. But anyway, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today, we are getting into this power rankings right now. So this week has been a pretty crazy week. We saw the Bengals beat the Chiefs. We saw some other stuff happen. Wait one sec. We saw Titans steamroll the Dolphins. We saw the Raiders upset. We saw the Rams sneak out a win. Cardinals won. And probably the best of all, Ben Roethlisberger's last game at home as a Steeler. So anyway, let's get into this power rankings list, starting out with the number 32 team. Not a surprise at all. The Jaguars. They're completely trash. This has just been a crappy organization for a long time. At 2-14, didn't get better this week. Got crushed by the Patriots. So not a lot going for the Jaguars. Honestly, I think they're going to be done. Apparently, they're dressing all up as clowns to show what a poor job they're doing, but not a good direction for the Jaguars. But they're the same thing we've known them to be for a lot of weeks now. So anyway, number 31 would be the Giants at 4-12. Very similar to the Jaguars, not as bad. I mean, it's kind of showing, is Daniel Jones a good quarterback? Because now when he's injured, this team is atrocious. When he's in there, this is not that bad. They're a bad tier. So it is making Daniel Jones look a lot better now. I don't even know what is going on with this organization right now. Joe Judge, oh my gosh, this is just not good for this team. And it's going to need a long road with the offseason. We approach our final week of the season. So, but Giants fans, they expect more out of this New York organization. So, yeah, that's where number 31 sits. I mean, the Giants sit at number 31. Both those teams staying at the same spot from last week's. But anyway, those are the two trash tier teams. Moving on to this bad tier. These teams are not trash. I could see these teams pull off upsets, but definitely aren't going to be, not expecting them to do anything. Anyway, so that's going to start out with the Lions. Got steamrolled by Seattle this week. As a Seahawks fan, it was good to see us finally click on offense. It's a little bit too late for that, but you know what? It felt good. Potentially Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll's last games, or most likely will just be last home game as a Seahawk. So, but enough about the Seahawks. We're talking about the Lions. Just without Jared Goff, they needed him. That backup quarterback was atrocious. But I do like this coaching staff. As I've said, I think they got some good things going for them in the future with Dan Campbell and this group. But anyway, that's where they'll sit at the bad tier. Moving on to number 29 will be the Texans. Oh, by the way, Lions would be dropping down two spots from last week. Texans jumping up this spot. At 4-12, very similar team to the Lions I see here. Not a lot of talent with this roster. But I think they're well coached, and I think they're exceeding expectations. Entering to the season, I thought this team could be the first 0-17 team ever. But they got a long road ahead for their rebuild, but it's not bad for the Texans. Not as bad as I thought we'd be saying for the rest of the year. But they are very lacking talent. So, yeah, that's where they're sitting at number 29. Anyway, moving on to number 28, the Jets will also be jumping up a spot here at 28. New York, you're starting to feel a lot more confident with Zach Wilson. He's getting better and better each week. He still has a long way to go, but he's getting better. This Jets team, they almost beat the Buccaneers, the defending champs. That was a big game for them. nearly got it. I mean, that last play was very, not good for this organization, for this team. Not organization, for that game. But, who cares? You be competitive. You drop a game, your season's over anyway. So they're 4-12. It's time for them. It's time to start thinking off season. It's gonna be not nearly as much craziness for New York as the other New York program, but gonna need some changes, I think. Anyway, let's move on to number 27. That'll be the Carolina Panthers. Gonna be sitting at the same spot from last week. Sam Darnold goes in, and he does not look very good against New Orleans Saints. The defense, though, they kept him in it with only allowing 18 points to that game, but you could tell the glaring issue of this offense is just atrocious. And, I mean, the defense, there's only so much you could do with the defense of 2021. This is a defensive battle game. Saints had the better offense, and that's why the Saints won. They were also a better play calling offense by far. I think they're going to have to move on from Matt Rule this offseason. And then rounding out this trash here, we're going to have a team drop it down 4 spots, officially eliminated from the playoffs. I said it. This team probably wouldn't have done anything in the playoffs anyway. They've had their issues. They've beaten up on some bad teams. That's the only reason they're at this point. So, take it as you will, Falcons fans, but did not play well against the Bills, and it was a bad day at the office for Josh Allen. You still couldn't win. I was expecting more out of this offense, only scoring 15 points. You're not going to be able to win with this atrocious defense they have. So a lot to work on this offseason for them, but they're going to get it together, I think. So number 26 is the Falcons. That'll wrap up this bad tier. Now we're moving on to the decent tiers. A lot more scrappy teams, but their seasons, all of them are over in this tier. They're all eliminated. So that's going to start out with number 25. That'll be the Washington football team. Officially, they're going to get a name this February, so that will be interesting to see what they pick. But for now, Washington will sit in this decent tier. Not a lot to say. I mean, they fought. They were leading, but they couldn't finish off the game. There's only so much Taylor Heineke can do. This team is nothing to play for the rest of the season. If they won that game, I mean, I guess they wouldn't be eliminated, but you know what? It's fine. The Washington football team, I mean, I was expecting them to go out, bounce back after the loss. They've prevailed against the Eagles that last time, couldn't get it done. So that's a disappointing loss as they'll drop down a spot. And then moving on to number 24, we got the Bears jumping up 2 spots, just crushing the New York Giants, and that's fine for this Bears team. That Giants team sucks, so really just jumping up because of the Falcons dropping down and Washington dropping down, but that's about it. This is the 6-10. I mean, this defensive coordinator, it feels like they're trying to keep Matt Nagy's job in a weird way, but it's not happening. Nagy's going to be gone by the end of the year. Just keeping his job for just keeping his job to finish off the season, which I guess is fine, but he's gone. If he's still there for the end of the season, for next season, I would be completely shocked. Anyway, so that's the Bears. Moving on to number 23, we got the Broncos getting eliminated this time. 7-9, just got crushed by the Chargers. Nothing they could do. Chargers got the revenge. Let's just move on from the Broncos. Their season's gone. Looking ahead to the offseason. And then dropping down 3 spots, we're going to have the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland, number 22. This is very disappointing for the Browns. 7-9. Oh, my gosh. Another embarrassing loss on Monday Night Football. It's time to get done with this season. It's time to move on. What are they going to have to do is Baker Mayfield going to be the starter for Cleveland next season. I don't know about that. Is this team going to make a lot of moves? I don't think so, but I think the Browns, they're going to have a lot of questions to do this postseason. This offseason, sorry. And very big letdown season after I don't even know. They had a good season last year. They're going to need to work on this whole roster this season. But anyway, let's move on to number 21. That'll be Seattle, jumping up 4 spots at 6-10. The worst record at the highest spot to this list at 6-10. The rest of these teams, well, never mind. Sorry about that. But anyway, Seattle, they just steamrolled the Lions. Like I said, it was good to see them finally get things going, but the offseason questions are still there. Are they going to move on from Russ? Are they going to fire Pete Carroll? I could see them doing both, but I think it probably would be best to fire Pete. But I could maybe see them rolling this with the same thing again next season. I don't even know. We'll have to see it. It should be interesting. This is one of the more interesting free agency we will see with Seattle. Anyway, moving on to number 20, that'll be the Dolphins. Going to drop down 3 spots. Miami at 8-8. Not a good year for the Dolphins. Stop. Anyway, moving on to number 19, we're going to have the Saints jumping up 3 spots. Sorry about that. But the Saints, they're still in the hunt right now. Just beat the Panthers this week. It's pretty impressive that this bad of an offense can still be in the hunt. You like to see that from the Saints, but they still have a long ways to go from the postseason. And, well, if they can beat the Falcons and the Niners lose to the Rams, they would make it in. But I don't think this is going to happen. I think the Niners can beat the Rams. We'll see what happens, though. But anyway, that's number 19. Jumping up 3 spots is pretty impressive there at this point. But anyway, let's move on to number 18. And this will round out the decent tier, as we have one team in the hunt, but that's just because they're still in this. The Vikings dropping down 2 spots. This has just been a very disappointing season again. Not even making the playoffs. It was a tough schedule, but no excuses for that. I think Zimmer should be gone from this organization. I think they should probably set the reset button sooner than later, because this team with this lineup is just not going to win the Super Bowl, I think. But the Vikings going to be dropping down 2 spots to 7-9. A lot of questions in the free agency. Just a tough break that they lost their Kirk Cousins this week at the most important game of the season. Anyway, moving on to number 17, a team that I'm shocked is still alive. And yeah, that'll round out the decent tier, by the way. But the Ravens. The Ravens at number 17 at 8-8. Very impressed with Baltimore's performance right there. Baltimore lost, though, to the Rams. It was a close game, though. Without Lamar Jackson, you'd expect him to be back by that game, but he's not. Without Lamar or with him, I still think this team's 17. They need a lot of things to go right this week for them to make the playoffs. I doubt it happens, but we shall see what happens. Anyway. All right, moving on to number 16. That'll be the Steelers. Big Ben's last home game there for the Steelers. But he is done for the Steelers. They're going to move on, and it should be interesting to see what goes on this offseason, who they move on with. Do they go for a veteran quarterback, or do they draft someone? I bet it's someone they draft, but we'll see. Steelers at number 16. But before the offseason, they still got some work to do. They can still make the playoffs. I don't think it will happen, but we will see what happens for Pittsburgh. Anyway, moving on to number 15, we got the Eagles jumping up 5 spots from the previous week, and this is going to be our first playoff team as they've clinched a playoff spot, which is good, to say the least, but I'm impressed by the Steelers. And, Steelers at 9-7. That's where they're going to be at number 15. And then moving on to number 14, we're going to have the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm impressed by the Raiders coming back from how much? Have won 3 straight and is at 9-7 after they were left for dead. They have a chance now on Sunday night to beat the Chargers and make the playoffs, but we'll see what happens. I don't think they beat the Chargers, but they proved me wrong in about every single one of these games. So, yeah, we could see what happens. But Raiders at number 14, that's where they'll sit. And then now we're done with that in the hunt here. Those are the 4 teams that I think will miss out the playoffs that aren't eliminated at the moment. All right, moving on to number 13. That'll be the Niners, jumping up a spot. Niners 9-7. The drama is a little bit more than expected entering into this week. They still had to beat the Rams. If the Saints win, Saints are in, and they lose to the Rams, they're out of the playoffs. So this is a big week for the Niners. I do think that they can get this win against the Rams, but we will see. It could go to the Rams. But the Niners got to win this week against the Texans. Jimmy Garoppolo is out. Just, play good defense in that game and ran the football. That's how you're going to beat the Texans. So they got it done, and they won that game. So at number 13, that's where they'll sit at 9-7. Moving on to number 12, that'll be the Chargers. And the Chargers just beat the Broncos today to eliminate them. That was a big win for them to go on to 9-7. At number 12, you love to see it for Los Angeles. I don't think that they will make. I think they'll beat the Raiders, but this team's very matchup dependent come playoff time, so I don't think that they're going to be a contender, and I don't think they'll put 4 straight weeks together where they can win the Super Bowl. So that's where I stand on the Chargers at number 12. Moving on to number 11, that'll be the Patriots to round out this playoff year. Then we'll get into the Contenders, we have a lot of contenders this week. Patriots sitting at the same spot from last week as well as the Chargers. Patriots at 10-6. You look at the Pats, and you just steamrolled the Jaguars, the worst team in football. So, take it as you will, but I don't think this team is going to win the Super Bowl. They got a rookie quarterback, and defense can't really win you. Just defense can't win you 4 straight games, I think. And I think this team will try and run the ball. I think they could play spoiler a couple rounds, maybe even make it to the AFC Championship. But I don't think that this will happen, and I don't think they're going to be able to make it to the Super Bowl. But we will see what happens with the Pats. You never know what Bill Belichick can do with that team. All right, anyway, now we're moving on to the contenders. 10 teams in this tier. Let's get to it. A lot of contenders, and it's a perfect time for this come playoff time. I could see all of these teams winning the Super Bowl, but a lot of these teams more. So anyway, let's start out with number 10. That'll be the Colts, dropping down 3 spots at 9-7. I think the Colts, bad loss this week to the Raiders, who were a good, who fought in that game and won it. Unfortunately, fortunately for the Colts, is they're still in the playoff picture right now, as you can see, at the number 6 seed, but they're going to need to get this win this week, or else they are out of the playoffs. So, I think it's against the Jaguars, right? Yeah, so they better not blow this game to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But this team, I think, can be a dangerous team come playoff time. I don't think you want to play the Colts with Jonathan Taylor, but I definitely could see this team not, winning the Super Bowl. But I do think they are more upside than a Patriots team. And I do think their defense is better than the Patriots as well. So that's where the Colts are at number 10, dropping down 3 spots after that disappointing loss. Anyway, moving on to number 9, that'll be the Titans, jumping up a spot. Titans at 11-5. They're gonna have Derrick Henry back apparently for the playoffs, and they have the number 1 seed now that the Chiefs lost. So that is huge for Tennessee to have that extra week for Derrick Henry to prepare. If they can do that, I could see them going on a run. This ranking is off of them not having Derrick Henry since they don't have him right now. If they have him, I could see them being number at least top 7, but without him, I think this team is still number 9, but their defense has been playing better as of recent weeks, and that'll help them come playoff time. And when Derrick Henry returns, the AFC better watch out. I could see this team making a deep run. Anyway, moving on to number 8, this will be the Arizona Cardinals, finding their way back into this contender tier, jumping up a spot. The Cardinals at 11-5. Kyler Murray, this team beat the Cowboys, which was a huge win for them. Kyler Murray getting back to what he did best, being explosive, playing like an elite quarterback. And with that, I could see them winning the Super Bowl just with Kyler Murray alone. Obviously, the Hopkins injury is huge for them. With him, they probably take some steps up here. But I'm not ready to jump on the Cardinals train after one game. So that's why they're only going to sit at 8. But I was glad to see them start to get back to what they used to be. Anyway, moving on to number 7, we got the Bengals. The Bengals, number 7, what a win this week. What a previous 2 weeks for Joe Burrow. He has lit up the NFL right now. They've gotten 3 straight wins against some pretty decent football teams. The Broncos dominated the Ravens last week, and then beating the Chiefs, who arguably is the number 1 team in football. That was a big win for the Bengals, and that shows this Bengals team can win the Super Bowl, I think. But can they get their first playoff win since 1990? It depends on who they go up against. I think I could definitely see them losing, but I'm hoping that they can win. We'll see what happens once we do our playoff predictions next week. But the Bengals, impressed with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and this offense. This team is lighting it up. But Bengals fans probably were expecting it higher, but this is where they stand, in my opinion. Anyway, moving on to number 6, that'll be the Cowboys. One tough loss for the Cowboys isn't going to make them drop down too much. That's a good Cardinals team that needed that win, but I was hesitant on the Cowboys for a reason last week, putting them at 5, and now they lost this game, so they're going to be just dropping down 1 spot this week at 11-5. I do think this is still a very team that I could see going on a run, but then again, I could see this team just failing in the playoffs. When Dak Prescott could just not play well. When was the last time he's been in a playoff game? I don't even remember. I think it's been like 3 years or something. But we'll see if the Cowboys can make it finally past the divisional round this year. I could definitely see it happening. This team's a contender for a reason. Anyway, let's move on to number 5, which will be the Buffalo Bills, making it into the top 5 now. You like that from the Bills. That was not a very good win, though, for Josh Allen and company. Didn't play very well, but the Bills, their defense stepped up against the Falcons. They got the win, and that's what you like to see from Buffalo at 10-6. So I like that from the Bills. And come playoff time, this is a dangerous team. Wouldn't bet on them to win the Super Bowl, though, but I think they are the second best team in the AFC Conference. All right, moving on to the Buccaneers, number 4. Going to drop down a spot. That Antonio Brown situation was just not good. Him leaving the field in the middle of that game. You don't like to see that. And they were in a deficit at that point, but they came back, got the win. That was a big comeback for them to keep this, playoff, maybe 2 seed at least, playoff picture alive. They're hoping they don't have to play the Saints. That's the one team that I could see upsetting them in the first round. That could be this between the Niners and Eagles. But yeah, the Saints are hoping they get that matchup. That's the only game I could maybe predict them to win. But number 4, Buccaneers at 12-4. They're still, you can't count out Tom Brady in this game. Even though he's had a few rough weeks, not looking, like he did, you cannot count him out come playoff time. He could light up the NFL like he did last season. All right, anyway, moving on to number 3, that'll be the LA Rams sneaking out a win against the Ravens. A Ravens must-win game, so that's pretty impressive from the Rams. But still, the Rams, Matthew Stafford not consistent. The rest of this team is golden, I think, for playoffs. Can Matthew Stafford put 4 weeks together? He didn't have a very good week this week, but I do think he can do that and make the playoffs. Make the Super Bowl. But I like some of these other teams more. This team's gone all in. It would be disappointed if this team doesn't at least make a run, because they got one more year until this whole thing just explodes in their face. So they're going to need to do something this year. Anyway, moving on to number 2. I'm just going to throw up the top 2. I think you already know them. Chiefs staying at the same spot from last week, and the Packers staying at the same spot from last week. Both Chiefs, we'll start out with the Chiefs at 2. You got a tough loss, but that's a good Bengals team that's hot right now. And it came down to the wire. It came down basically to a coin flip, but the Bengals got the win, and you love to see it from the Bengals. But Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes still playing great. You love to see it from Patrick Mahomes, and come playoff time, this team is going to be dangerous, and hopefully they can get that 1 seed. But right now, if the Titans win, they clinch it. So that was a big loss to the Bengals, but I don't think that's going to affect them come playoff time. It's just about the seeding. And then number 1, Green Bay. This is the clear number 1 team to me. I don't see why you wouldn't put them. Aaron Rodgers is heating up. This is like 3 seasons now where they've gotten the number 1 seed, I believe. So you love to see that from Green Bay. But it's time to make it past the NFC Conference Championship game and win the Super Bowl, because they're the clear-cut best team in the NFL. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. Hope you all enjoyed the power rankings. Comment down below your rankings. And anyway, peace out.